Hello everyone, thank you for taking the time to join us today. In our last video, Rue and I talked about how using the emotional intelligence skill of empathy can help you deliver better client-centered service. There are many ways to practice empathy or start to recognize your client's needs and how they are feeling. Today, we're going to talk with you about the skill of active listening. Active listening is the foundation of effective communication. It can help you gather important information related to a client's business and at the same time demonstrate to a client that you truly care. Engaging in active listening skills is a way to make your client feel heard, understood, and served.
What does it mean to actively listen? You may not even be aware that there are different ways to listen. Active listening is about being able to repeat back in your own words what the speaker has said. Those with high empathy can do this even if they do not agree with what the speaker is saying. Repeating back and connecting with what the client is saying helps them to feel understood, but it doesn't mean that you necessarily think the same way or agree with them. Active listening in client service means being totally focused on the words that the client is saying, understanding what those words mean, and responding in a manner that validates what they are saying.
Before we dive into learning more about active listening, we would first like to talk a little about the brain science of emotional intelligence and how this can impact our ability to respond in empathetic ways and listen effectively. One of the key findings in these studies is that we have 3 layers of increasing sophistication in our brains. The first layer of our brain is called the reptilian brain. The reptilian brain is tied to our survival, our instinctual drives. It is constantly reading the environment for signs and danger, and when it senses any danger, the amygdala kicks off the fight, flight, or freeze response. Most of us have experienced this. The purpose of it is to prepare our body to literally escape or face the danger that's coming up. We then have the mid portion of the brain, which is called the limbic brain. This is also known as the emotional or feeling part of our brain. Our survival is tied to this part of our brain because we need to be able to connect with others, care for our young, and navigate social groups. This layer sorts for broad emotional categories like happiness, sadness, love, and disgust. The outer portion of the brain is the neocortex, which is our rational or thinking part of our brain. It's also known as the executive center, where we carry on all the logical analysis and effective decision making that we do in our work here. In this part of the brain, our emotional palette expands, including more nuanced emotions, and these thoughts about emotions turn into more subtle indicators that the other layers of our brain can read. Both IQ and EQ live in this part of our brain. A second finding is that when our reptilian brain kicks off, it literally shuts down the functions of these other 2 portions of our brain, along with creating a lot of physical changes to prepare us for battle. This would be fine if the amygdala only fired off when we were truly in danger, like during a car accident or a robbery. The problem is that our own personal history shapes our amygdala and what it sees as danger. When you are not showing our clients that we are actively listening, we may be triggering a fight or flight response. Using active listening skills helps the client relax and significantly reduces the chances that the client will react negatively. It shows the client that we truly value, hear, and understand what they are telling us. Active listening can help clients shift and tap into the emotional and thinking part of their brains. When we practice active listening skills, it creates a space where clients feel valued, heard, and like they can trust you.
What does it look like to actively listen? Active listening means being really focused on the words that the client is saying, understanding what those words mean, and responding in a manner that validates what they are saying. Some ways to demonstrate active listening are facing the speaker and having eye contact. You want to listen to the nonverbal cues, and those things include eye contact, posture, their facial expressions, or if they appear distracted or focused on what the person is saying. You don't want to interrupt. You want to listen without judging or jumping to conclusions. And you don't want to start planning what you're going to say next. Use verbal cues and your body language to show that you are listening. For example, in our last video, we talked about using encouragers, which are things like nodding your head, saying uh-huh, or saying I hear what you are saying. Don't impose your opinions or offer any solutions. You want to stay focused and remove any potential distractions like notifications or incoming emails or being distracted by others.
So, what are some of the things you can do to develop your active listening skills? First, practice giving your clients the time to fully express and share their story. Let them empty their bucket. When you do this, you allow the client to say all that they have to say without jumping in, interrupting, or offering solutions before they have said everything they have to say. Doing this allows your client to feel heard and fully express what is going on for them.
Another way to develop your active listening skills is to validate what your client says. By validating your client's feelings, you are allowing the client the space to express their concerns and to let go of the need to defend themselves or correct your point of view. Some ways to validate the client are paraphrasing what you heard the client say. Paraphrasing is when you reflect back to the other person their own words and feelings. This is a great way to show that you really care and that you are actively engaged in the conversation. It also gives them the opportunity to say if you are hearing and understanding them correctly. You want to use descriptive language such as, so it sounds like you are feeling, or you might want to say, so you are telling me, or what I hear you saying is. A good one would be, what I heard you say is that you're upset because it seems like I wasn't mindful of the time. This is a way to paraphrase without being defensive or trying to justify your actions. Phrases like this show that you are really listening and that you are understanding. The last one shows that you are truly listening to understand and not being defensive. At this point, make sure you avoid chiming in with your own experiences because then you're making the conversation about you. Also, make sure you don't use judgmental language when you are paraphrasing. Your ultimate goal is to try to understand the other person's point of view, not to correct them. 2 more active listening skills are seeking clarification and normalizing. When you are seeking clarification, you ask questions to make sure you're hearing what the other person intended. The questions are trying to help you understand when, where, how, or why. For example, you can ask, is this what you said? Or did I hear you say? Practicing asking clarifying questions is a great way to help you both get better at clearly expressing your thoughts and emotions. They help the speaker find direction in what is confusing or lacking in the information that they have provided. When you normalize, you're communicating that what the other person is feeling makes sense based on their experience or perspective, and that the others in their situation might also feel similarly. An example would be you can say, I get that you are frustrated with the delays in getting your returns back to you. Or you might say, I understand that you are frustrated at having to pay this extra amount.
You can also practice mindful listening. Pay attention to what the other person is saying. Avoid distractions, even those caused by your own emotions. So, what does that mean to be distracted by your own emotions? That goes back to listening. You start to think about your own thoughts and reactions to what they are saying rather than listening. You want to listen to understand versus rather than responding. And don't judge. Be aware of your facial expressions. Are you making eye contact? Do you roll your eyes or look away when your client is speaking? Are you frowning, smiling, laughing? Pay attention to what's appropriate for the situation. A couple other ways you can practice developing your empathy skills is you can watch a pro. So find someone you believe is an effective communicator who is good at building relationships with clients. Observe their communication style and practice. Take in note of how they balance their ability to remain empathetic and socially responsible while meeting organizational demands.
Think about your physical gestures. Does your body language suggest open listening? Or are your arms crossed? Or do you have your hands on your hips? Are your hands in your pockets? Studies have shown we are distrustful of others if we can't see their hands. When you are on camera, try to occasionally use your hands as you are speaking. Or if you're at a conference table, keep your hands up and not hidden in your lap. Body language is an easy way to show that you are engaged. Turn your head and torso to face the person that is speaking. You want to make direct eye contact. You can lean forward towards the person. You can also mirror their body language, so if they are sitting cross-legged, consider mirroring them and cross your own leg. Some additional cues that you might try are to try lightly holding your fingertips together in what is called the lower steeple. Holding your hands together in this manner indicates a listening attitude. On Zoom calls, look at the people in attendance at your meeting. Who needs to be heard? Has someone come off of mute and then gone back on? Does someone look a little puzzled? It's okay to check in with them and ask.
I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
One other strategy that you can use is called mixing sugar with spice. It's important to ensure that your empathy doesn't get in the way of handling tough conversations and decisions. Being empathetic doesn't mean being extra nice all the time. You still have deadlines to meet, and so does our organization. When a tough conversation or decision is needed, acknowledge that you may need more preparation time in order to be empathetic. Write down what you want to say and rehearse it. Be respectful of people's reactions, but don't let them derail you. Keep in mind that if you mirror the emotions, you will likely intensify the person's reaction. For example, if the news you are bringing makes them angry, by becoming angry yourself, you are likely to make the situation more heated. But you do want them to know that you take their concerns seriously, so do not be too casual or tell them to calm down, which will only make them angrier.
Thank you for watching our video and have fun practicing your active listening skills. Bye everybody.
Everyone.